What's going on, guys? It's Adam P. Welcome back to more Newcastle United transfer news out here in South Korea. Eddie Howe has just conducted his first press conference since the official Liverpool bid last night for the acquisition of Alexander Isak. Depending on what journalists you believe in, the bid was in the range of between 110 to 120 million pounds, but regardless of the truth, still way below what Newcastle wanted at 150 million pounds, and the bid was immediately rejected. And already Liverpool, as it stands, has pulled out of the deal. They do not want to sign Esak unless Newcastle either gets the replacements in or Isak himself now pushes for the move behind the scenes so Liverpool can get him on a cheaper deal. This, although it looks like might be over for now, let's be honest with ourselves, this is not over. I reckon this is just beginning, if anything. We have to go back to the training ground next week once we are done with this Asia tour, which means Alexander Isak also needs to go back to the training ground next week. Will he do that, or will he now, with his agent, continue to push for this move, and will he now, with his agent, look to properly screw Newcastle out of this transfer market? All here in this video to discuss. If you guys are new around here, make sure you get down there, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button. I really do appreciate your support, so make sure you get down there and hit that subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos. In terms of the bid last night, before we talk about Eddie Howe this morning, because he has now responded to that bid, Liverpool, 110 to 120 million pounds, somewhere in that range, have placed the bid. Never ever, in my opinion, was that being accepted by Newcastle. And I reckon Liverpool knows that as well. In my personal opinion, I think Liverpool's lodged that bid just to sorely put even more pressure behind the scenes at Newcastle to now try and get Esak and his agent to push further for the move. Esak, from Craig Howe, has been described as sweating from the possibility of joining Liverpool. It's his dream move. Now that Liverpool has officially approached and put a bid in for Esak, will the player now push for that dream move? Will he push Eddie Howe? Will he push the club? He's already screwed Newcastle over in this transfer window behind the scenes. Will he continue to do that? And he's been described as an ill-advised move from Liverpool. To believe that they've been stringing Isak along the entire time. No real intention of signing him, is just a ploy almost to try and get Isak to get out of Newcastle on a cheap deal. Liverpool just got no intentions, especially after signing Ekitike, to really push through and to put all their money into Isak. And when I look at this situation, Isak and his agent have been the instigators for this. That would have not happened if Isak and his agent have actually done what they were supposed to do and to go out on this Asia tour with Newcastle, to cooperate with Newcastle. Liverpool would have had a more likely chance of actually getting Isak if Isak put a transfer request in and he was respectful about it, continues to do his job, continues to do what he can for Newcastle, and then Liverpool could have maybe done something this summer. If this transfer request came out at the start of the window when Liverpool could afford him, they would have came in for him. You got Ekitike in the end. I think they would have went for Isak if he had done this earlier. But instead, after Ekitike and after he sees the social media noise that Liverpool was interested in him, then with his agent, I've been absolute worries behind the scenes, and they should hang their heads in shame. I really think they should, because this is a player who has done everything in his power to leave this football club, who now has to come back to the training ground next week with his agent, and he'll have to come back to Eddie Howe and come back to those players and just act like nothing's happened and go back in there with all the fans back home peeved off of him. And I think it's just irreversible damage. I don't think you can come back from that. I think he's like me under Eddie Howe. Sure, he will invite the player back in and they may actually end up keeping Isak this summer. But will the fans forget that? No, I don't think they will. And Isak and his agent have to understand that, and he have to earn back the respect. If they were to play for Newcastle again, and they have to earn the respect back by, putting the goals in there, scoring against Liverpool, doing the celebration on them. That's one way of winning the fans back. But truthfully, we won't forget this. I don't think we ever will forget this. And Isak now, especially with his agent, I think his agent's done him over. I think his agent really has done him over, and the player has been ill-advised. I think he has. It's also been described as Liverpool bottling this move. Just to try and give an example. So Liverpool picked the phone up. Hello, Newcastle, can we sign Isak? Newcastle says no. Slams the telephone down in Liverpool, and that's exactly how it's been described in social media. Because of the way Newcastle has rejected the bid, Liverpool have immediately pulled out. So Newcastle's done something in a response where it's been so bad for Liverpool that they just got nothing to work with. They've immediately walked out of it. And I think Liverpool would have been perhaps a little confident they could have pulled something off. I think they would have been confident to start a conversation, but deep down, no one ever signs a player on the first bid. They know that, we know that. Liverpool wanted to start a conversation. Newcastle ended that conversation. That's the best way of describing the situation so far. We are now, of course, looking for striker replacements because it's entirely possible. If Newcastle can pull off these replacements, then the conversation will be able to begin. Then Liverpool, with more money up on the table, would then have a real chance of potentially getting Esak. But for now, as long as Newcastle has no strikers in there, they're not going to budge at any price. And Liverpool have already been aware of that, which is why they pulled out. But the fact of even lodged a bid during a time when Newcastle would have zero strikers, done solely, in my opinion, just to continue stirring the pot. They knew that bid would never be accepted. I'm not buying it for a second that they would. As for the reaction inside the football club, Eddie Howe has spoken out to journalists before in the press conference, stated that he wants Isak to stay. He was aware Liverpool placed a bid in yesterday, but it was rejected without him knowing anything about it. He hasn't got a say in it. It's the club back in Newcastle and behind the scenes sorting everything out. But the manager has continued to reinstate. He wants Isak to be at Newcastle next season and he would welcome the player back. Alan Shearer has also spoken out yesterday saying that Newcastle is not a feeder club. £120 million is enough for one of his fees, and he's described Newcastle as being a club that is no longer sentimental and is no longer going to budge for anyone. I really like this response from Shearer because I've seen a lot of Liverpool fans on social media always say that, well, sell Isak, you buy players in, that's how you improve as a football club. And while I would agree to some extent, we also improve as a football club when you keep the best of the best. Isak is one of the world's best strikers. It's in our best interest to keep the player. If we can keep him for 12 more months, well, next summer it could be a £120 million price tag Newcastle would then have. We could lose out on some money. But those 12 months we get out Isak, if he actually gives 100% and he works for the badge, then I think Newcastle would have more than just value for those 12 months because we could potentially lose league positions without him. We could potentially lose out in silverware without Isak. We just don't know what's going to happen in the future. But I do know now Newcastle is better by being able to keep your best players and by also being able to bring players in. Isak leaving now means none of those happen. You lose out on your best players while we have also not brought in anyone so far. Newcastle does not improve with those two factors. One of those has to go our way. Until Newcastle brings players in, Esak is going nowhere. And Liverpool fans need to understand our point of view. We're not budging until we at least have replacements in. Eddie Howe also spoken to the media today and said that he was only aware Alexander Isak was in Spain because of social media. Sky Sports News is the reason Eddie Howe knows that our own player is in Spain. How ridiculous is that, by the way? I mean, what an utter disgrace from Alexander Isak. Our manager does not know where our most valuable player is. When he's out on an Asia tour, Isak's been advised, according to Eddie Howe, to not go on the Asia tour because of his injury. And he's went on a different plane without the approval of Newcastle to Real Sociedad, his former football club, who, by the way, has a 10% buy-in clause in his contract, meaning that if Isak leaves to Liverpool, Real Sociedad gets 10% of our fee. So they're nursing our own player to be fit and to be well so they can get money for Esak. So a club's also going against Newcastle. And you have a player here who was just doing what he wants. Our media team didn't know where he was. Eddie Howe didn't know where he was. And he only knows where he was because of Sky Sports and because of social media. It's just ridiculous. And I don't want Liverpool fans on this video. I ranted about it yesterday. I banged on about it yesterday. You can't be watching this video now and saying that Isak's in the right and that Isak's doing the correct thing, because he's not. And I even had some viewers yesterday, some Newcastle fans claim, well, Adam, this is not true. The club's told him to go. Well, there's the evidence there. Tell me now that the club told him to go to Spain, because even Eddie Howe doesn't know he's in Spain. So, yeah, stop with that rubbish, because Eddie Howe has now proven that Isak has went to Spain without the approval of Newcastle. And while he has not went into any further detail about that, you can imagine he's disappointed. You can imagine the players disappointed. And we as fans are disappointed because that's just not good enough. And that leads us into the potential replacements Newcastle could bring in, because surely after all the news that's came out today about Isak, and while it is possible, especially after Liverpool pulling out for now, that Newcastle may keep hold of Isak this summer, I feel like it has been too far gone. It was too much damage. There's too much water under the bridge. Where how can we keep a player that's done all this to our manager, our teammates, and to our fans? I just think it's unforgivable. And when you look at the players in football history, has anyone ever done anything this bad and actually came back to play for their team? It's just such a story where you've never quite seen anything like it. Especially my year supporting Newcastle. We had a bad one with Johan Kabay back in 2014, but I've never ever seen one this bad before. This one's a real shocker, and I'm really disappointed to see this from Esak because we had such an amazing season last year. And I look back at the cup final now, I watched the highlights yesterday because it was on inside the Adidas club shop here in South Korea, and I almost can't watch the highlights because he's in it. It just ticks me off that much. But it's really disappointing. And when you look at the replacements, from Slovenian media pages, it's been reported that Benjamin Sesko to Newcastle United is on. It's been reported that he has chosen to join Newcastle over Manchester United. Been a bit of a standoff over the last few days in terms of Newcastle trying to get Cesco. It's been one where Newcastle haven't went in properly over the last few days because it was felt like internally that he would join Manchester United. But it looks like now, perhaps with the Isak stuff going on in the background, Cesco now has the guarantee of being the first choice option in Newcastle. Maybe that's been a head turner for him. Maybe he's looked at the situation now and he's had a chance to reflect on it. And he's felt like Manchester United, with the likes of Cunha in there and Bruno in there, Højlund in there. I can't believe I'm saying Højlund, but he already has a lot of attacking options at Manchester United. Whereas at Newcastle, guaranteed first option, no one currently behind him to push him anywhere. So he has a free hit at Champions League football and being able to play for a good Premier League team. So for him, looks like a real possibility. He's certainly got a lot of life to it, and certainly after the Isak stuff yesterday, and we all know Newcastle needs to bring replacements in. So it looks like Cesco and Newcastle is on. We'll have to wait and see during the day because I'm willing to bet a lot more news will come out today, and there will be a second upload on the channel later on. Looks positive though. Looks like Newcastle has a real chance of bringing him in. And speaking of strikers, we have a real chance of bringing in Wissa at Brentford. It's still a situation where he's refusing to train. Similar-ish to Isak, but I think Wissa's had more guarantees in there that haven't been met. And with him, he's refusing to train as well, not cooperating with Brentford. And we have to be honest as well, we are calling Isak out for doing this at Newcastle. And while Wissa, if you look internally at the situation, does have more reasons to do it, he still is effectively screwing Brentford over. They have a real chance of being relegated this season, and he's going against them as well, which I'm also against. I personally don't like that, and I don't agree with it. Liverpool fans watching, use as example in the comments section. We talk about Esak, yes. I also don't agree with this, and that's the best explanation I can give you. I don't think either player should be doing it. I think there's a few things social media tells us walking away. Fabrizio Mano is an absolute fraud, by the way. Sorry for pinpointing one journalist out, but I've never seen a more anti-Newcastle journalist in my life. Sorely this summer, I don't know if it's Isak's agent, I don't know if it's Liverpool, I don't know if it's someone else. Someone's paying this guy off, more of an influencer at this point than a journalist, in my opinion. He's clearly got an agenda against Newcastle, and I think someone is paying him to do that. My opinion, not factual, I don't personally know, but it gives me the impression that he's being paid off from someone. Not authentic at all, and he's reporting about Newcastle as being heavily biased and really heavily beneficial towards Liverpool. I think there's something up with that. I actually do. Liverpool fans as well. Now, Liverpool fans in real life are sound. You get in a conversation, Liverpool fans, you meet them out and about. Lovely people. Social media, Liverpool fans is a different type of butter. I don't know what it is with them social media, but there's a high level of arrogance. Just constantly thinking that Esak's just going to walk to Liverpool. They're going to walk him with these low ball bids and Esak's just going to join Liverpool like it's nothing. You have to understand Newcastle is not a weak club. Newcastle's a club that is progressive, is doing well. And we are prepared to sell Isak. We are not holding them back. We are not keeping them hostage. We are currently not letting them go because we need replacements or we need that money up front. We have not been sent £150 million. You guys have sent us £110 million, which is nowhere near what we asked. So you either pay up what we want, or you let us get replacements first, like a Benjamin Cesco. In my opinion, Benjamin Cesco is the only replacement that is good enough to allow us to sell Isak. If it's not Cesco, I don't think we can sell Isak because I just don't think there is a striker out there, realistically, that we can buy that is good enough to be able to properly replace Isak on our team. As a bit of a bonus clip in this video, I wanted to show you an Alexander Isak song. Paul Gallant has made a song about Alexander Isak, and I watched it. I wanted to show it off in this video, and I wanted to at least give Paul the respect of being able to showcase it to you guys watching this video. So have a watch and see what you think about it.
You're gunning on strike. Why? You can hang in a trance for request, but you're a pro. Sad, really sad. And UFC.
But for some final bits of news walking away from this video, Heung-min Son will finish his Tottenham career tomorrow against Newcastle in his hometown country of South Korea. It's now been confirmed he will leave Tottenham, and it looks like tomorrow is his last dance. So make sure you stick around and you get a chance to see that on the channel, because of course, while it is an opposition player, got to respect it. He's been able to leave his career the way he's wanted to, and of course it'll be an honour to be able to see that in person, because I'm willing to bet, especially out in South Korea, one of the world's biggest draws, believe it or not, Heung-min Son is. He's a massive deal back in the UK. The amount of Koreans and Asian fans that travel over to watch him play is truly a spectacle. And you'll see tomorrow how big of a deal this is. This match is going to have a lot of weight on it. And while it's been a bit of a disaster for Newcastle on the pitch in this tour, that's certainly going to be nice to see at least. But for us against Tottenham tomorrow, last chance out in the Asia tour. Surely we don't lose all 4 of our opening games. I like to see us get a result tomorrow. I like to see us give a bit more, especially that first game. Far too flat for me. Not enough energy. Needs to have a lot more in it going into this final game. But Isak, what happens next? Does he continue to screw Newcastle over? It's a tough one to call. I think he might, though. I think once the player's already went out of his way to do this much against Eddie Howe, he has to probably commit to it. You either bottle it, come back and suck it up, or he commits to it, continues to push it, and eventually will get the move to Liverpool. And that's what he wants. So I just don't think he'll stop this up. I don't think he will stop. He want my opinion now, and of course I'll always give him the benefit of the doubt, because he may have a change of heart, but I don't think it's done. I think he'll push for it. I think he will screw Newcastle over. Once he's already done it once, I think he won't stop. And I feel like his age, especially how much dirt he's got on his hands already, I think he'll continue to get more dirt in it. I think he'll continue to keep pushing for it. Newcastle may eventually budget a certain fee, but they're not going to give up, and we're not going to take this crap for him. I'll be really intrigued to see how this story continues. For now, the story's over for Liverpool, but I think it's only just beginning. So let's see when we're back in Newcastle in a couple of days. Let's see what happens. But for now, appreciate you watching. Take care. Back with more transfer news later on, likely regarding Benjamin Cesco. But appreciate you watching, and we will see you all in the next one.